Hi everyone, my name is Idil and welcome to my channel. In this video we are going to make a typical Turkish dessert together called Ashure, which is Noah's Ark pudding. This one is supposed to be the oldest dessert in the world. It's believed that it's back in the days from Noah's time. It symbolizes unity, sharing, friendship. So when we make Ashure, we make it bulky and we share it with all our neighbors and friends, and it's quite fun to make. We have a lot of ingredients which goes into this dessert. Some of them may sound weird, but it actually works together when the dessert is done. So I have some barley, I have some beans, some chickpeas, lots of nuts, hazelnuts, walnuts, pine nuts, some pistachios, cranberries, dried apricots, almonds, and I have some spices, which is I'm going to use some cinnamon, some ginger. Ginger we don't usually put. This is my addition, I like it with ginger, and some nutmeg. So what I've did is that I've soaked the barley, chickpeas and beans, and what this does, it drastically decreases the cooking time, and it will also help us digest the barley, the chickpea and the beans much better. So I recommend that you do this the night before. You soak them in room temperature water, and now what I'm going to do, I'm going to drain them all. So I'm draining them all separately because they'll cook separately at first. So this is my barley, which if you don't use as an ingredient, you should. It's a great substitute for rice and it goes amazing in salads. So I'm simply going to transfer this to my big pan here. This will be the pan that will put everything together. So the barley was 2 cups before I soaked it in water, and I have 1 cup of beans and 1 cup chickpeas, which I'm draining as well. And again, moving into a smaller pot this time. And the same goes with chickpeas. And now I'm going to add water. So I'm adding this to the chickpeas. This is good enough. And I'm adding about 1 liter of water to the beans. And we'll be draining these waters. I'm putting the heat on. And it will take about 45-50 minutes for the chickpeas and the beans to cook. And once they've cooked, I'm going to drain them. And to the barley, I'm adding 4.5 liters of water. And I'm adding drinking water because this water we are going to end up using. And you have to make sure that you start with this amount of water because we're going to combine everything together in this huge pan, and we just want to make sure that we have enough water when we do. So here goes 4.5 liters. I may end up adding 2 more cups. And I'm putting on the heat, and barley will take longer to cook. So it will cook about 1.5 hours. So what I'll do is once I see the beans and the chickpeas cooked, which will be about 50 minutes, I'm going to drain them and set them aside. And once the barley is cooked, I'm going to combine everything. While the barley is cooking, you will see some foams on top of the water. It's important to clean them as you go so that we'll have a nice and lovely pudding in the end. So I'll see you in 1.5 hours. So like I said, the beans and the chickpeas are cooked. It took about 50 minutes and I've drained them. And here you can see the barley is cooked as well, and it absorbed about the half of the water. So I put in like around 5.5 liters. Now I have around 2.5, so that's a good starting point to continue. And it took exactly 1 hour and 30 minutes for the barley to come to this stage. So now what I'm doing is I'm adding the chickpeas, I'm adding the beans, I'm adding dried apricots, adding pine nuts. Hazelnuts, you can chop them up, but I like the feeling of their crunchiness, so I leave it as a whole. And almonds, same way. I'm adding some cinnamon, which I'm going to fish out later. I'm adding some ginger, grating some nutmeg in there. And if there are any other spices that you feel like adding, it can be cloves, feel free to do so. Do always adjust the recipes based on your liking. And I'm giving everything a good mix, and it smells so good because of the ginger that we've added. And now I'm going to add the starch in there. And what I'm doing is I have a cup of milk in front of me. I'm adding 1 tablespoon of starch. I'm using cornstarch, but you can use whatever starch you have on hand. And I'm giving it a whisk. And slowly I'm adding the starch into my pan. And the milk will give it a great taste. and the starch will give it a great texture. And I'm adding a little less than 2 cups. I'll say a cup and 3/3 of a cup of sugar in here. And I'm going to cook everything together for about 10 minutes. And then Ashure, Noah's Ark pudding, will be ready to serve. I've cooked the Ashure for an additional of 10-15 minutes. And now I can see that it has come to a nice consistency. And do keep in mind, as this waits and cools down, it is going to set more. So it's great to leave it here. So this looks great. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to transfer it to my bowls here. When transferring, it's important that you give it a good stir and then take a scoop so that you make sure that you have everything in here. And usually what we do is we prepare this with jars, like which have a lid on, so it's easier to give it to our neighbors and friends. It smells so good, by the way. So now I'm going to wait for about an hour for it to set and cool down, and then it will be time to get some toppings in there and make this look nice and lovely. I have waited for about 30 minutes for the Ashures to set, and if you can jiggle it a little, you'll see that it's much more set, but once we put them in the fridge, that's going to get more. So this looks great now. I'm going to decorate it with some toppings, and then I'm going to transfer them to fridge. And so I'm putting some cranberries. I love to put pomegranates, and as you know, it symbolizes wealth, it symbolizes abundance. So it's something we definitely prepare Ashure with. Some pistacchios, and whatever you want. You can get creative with this. You can add in some walnuts, you can add in some chopped hazelnuts, whatever you have on hand, however you feel like it's going to look pretty. I like different colors, so I do pomegranate and pistachios definitely, and then I usually use out what I have. And it's not quite ready. It has to wait in the fridge for like 3-4 hours, but I'm gonna give it a taste just to see. I really love the feeling of whole hazelnuts in this. It feels very crunchy and nice. Pomegranate goes amazing with it. The sugar balance is perfect. It's definitely not too sugary. If you like rose, you can add some rose water in your Ashure, which will make it nice and aromatic as well. But it's really, really good. The beans are cooked nicely, the chickpeas are cooked nicely, the barley feels good. It might feel weird to have beans and chickpeas in a dessert, but in this case, do try. Like I said, this is a very, very typical Turkish recipe, and it's a big part of our culture. So I would love to hear your comments on it. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do subscribe, and I hope to see you next time. Bye bye.